Okay, first thing is what? Who can tell me what would be the first thing?
If the denominator is the same.
Okay. Does anybody say something different? So there's two ways to do this. You can find a common denominator right away, or you can make it into an improper fraction. What do you guys want to do first? So if you want to do, so there's two ways to do it. I'll show you the common denominator way first. So what's our common denominator? Ooh, what's our common denominator?
10.
10. Scaring me for a second. So 5 times what magical number? That would be 2. So you multiply the top by 2 again. So 3 times 2 is 6. So remember, if we change the bottom number, we have to change the top number. So this is our new fraction. Then the bottom number, you're going to multiply by 5, multiply by 5. So that gives you 5. So now I no longer look at this right there. I now have 6 and 5, right? 6 and 5. I no longer have that. I've created these brand new beautiful fractions. So there's a couple ways to do this. This is one way. I'll show you a different way in a second. 6 plus 5 is 11 over 10, right? And then the whole numbers, it gives you 3. But this is an improper fraction. So this right there, that is equal to 1 and 1/10, right? So then I'm going to have to add my whole number 3. So my final answer is 4 and 1/10. Okay? That's one way of doing it. Let me show you another way of doing it. Because maybe I lost some of you right here. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe you're like, oh, I get this. Yeah, I've done this before. Cool. Maybe this is new to you. This part's going to be new to you. You're like, oh, I see. I'm not going to use it. Or, oh, I see how that one's a lot better. Or not. Whatever. It's up to you. You're all capable of figuring out which one's better for you. All right. So let's do this. What we're going to do first is we're going to make this into improper fractions by multiplying and then adding. You guys remember that? I used to do it like a backwards C when I was a kid. Teacher used to make us do a backwards C. So 5 times 2 is 10, plus 3 is 13 over 5. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3 over 5. So the first step is to turn them into improper fractions. That would be the first step. And then after that, then you find the, whoa, that's supposed to be a 2. Then you find common denominators, which is still 10, like the problem above, right? And then this is still times 2 times 2 gives you 26, times 5 gives you 15. You end up with 41 over 10. When you turn it into a mixed number, it is still 4 and 1/10. You guys want to know a little secret? What I just showed you is not 7th grade math. It's not. It's 5th grade, 6th grade, maybe. Okay, so we still haven't dived into 7th grade math, kids. So this is not 7th grade. This is something you should have learned before you came into my class. Now, if it's not, if you're like, what? Well, here it is. Here it is. So this is the exact same problem, 2 different ways of solving it. This way is keeping your whole numbers whole and just bringing them down, right? And then adding it to, if it's an improper, turn it into a mixed number, then adding whatever the whole number was, right? This way is changing them into improper fractions right off the bat, like improper off the bat. You do end up dealing with a lot bigger numbers, not gonna lie, they are bigger. Here, you don't have to worry about borrowing or like doing this part. So there is some benefits to it. Um, there are benefits to this as well. You are dealing with smaller numbers, but here some kids mess up. They forget to add the 3 and they tell me that the answer is 1 and 1/10. So, here kids mess up because they're big numbers. Yeah. So, you guys ready for 7th grade math now? All right. Let's do it. 5 and 1/6 minus 2 and 4/5. We're crawling into the space of 7th grade. All right. So which way do you guys want to do it? Do you guys want to do it where we do improper fractions right away, or do you want to keep them as mixed numbers? So let's see. Form A or Form B? What do you guys want to do? Form A or Form B? Interesting. Okay. All right. I got a lot of A's. I got some B's, but I got more A's. So we're going to do A. We're going to do A. So that means we're going to keep the whole numbers and we're going to change these into common denominators. What's my common denominator between 6 and 5? Yes, you can still do B. I'll probably do B in a second. Not going to lie. What's our common denominator between 6 and 5?
30.
30. So times 5 times 5 is 5. Times 6 is 24. Now, here's where we're going to be like, oh my God, no. So we have 5 minus 24. So what we do is we're going to borrow from the 5. So the 5 becomes a 4, right? Now, what am I going to add? You know how like when you borrow, you add a little 1? Like in old math, like if I were to do 932 minus 177, what we do is this becomes a 12, right? We add a 1 right there, and then this becomes a 2, right? And then this becomes it will become an 8, and this will become a 12 again. Oh, yeah, right? So you remember when we borrow this, what happens here? What happens here is we're going to add not a 1. It doesn't become a 15. It becomes, you add a whole because you took away a whole, so you add a whole. Well, a whole for this fraction is 30 over 30, which means it's 35 over 30. So adding this borrowing allows you to have 35 over 30. Now I can do 35 minus 24. That gives me 11 over 30. And 4 minus 2 is 2. 2 and 11/30. You guys want to do B? Let's see if B is actually easier for this. Because here's borrowing. A lot of kids don't know about this right here. When you add a whole, you add 30 over 30. Whatever the denominator is, you just add it as a numerator. Some kids didn't know that. Some kids do. So if I were to do it in Form B, you might think it's a lot of work and you're like, I'm dealing with bigger numbers. Yes, but in this case, you're not dealing with borrowing. 31 over 6 minus 14 over 5. 30. So this is where it's like, ooh, I got to deal with some big numbers, which I don't like. 15. So this is 155. And then this is times 6 times 6. 14 times 6. 24, carry the 2, 6, 84. So now I have 155 minus 84. 155 minus 84. 1, 15, 7. 71 over 30 is equal to 2 and 11/30. Sorry if I went too fast, But this is Form B. Form B tells you to turn them into improper fractions first, and then find a common denominator of 30. So times 5 times 5. Here, because it's really big numbers and I don't want to mess up, I do the math on the side. 31 times 5, 155, 14 times 6, 214 times 6, or 14 times 6 is 84. Then I subtract these two big numbers. I did it on the side. Again, I don't want to mess up. I get 71 over 30. How do I take 71 over 30 and make it into a mixed number? That I'm hoping you all know how to do. 30 goes into 71 two times. That gives me 60, remainder 11. So the 2 on top is your whole number. Your remainder is your numerator. And your denominator stays the same because it's an important denominator. All right. Any questions? Huh? We still haven't done 7th grade math. I know. I've been recording myself for 11 minutes and we still haven't done 7th grade math. Oh my. But I lost some of you already. So what do you guys prefer, A or B? There's some benefits to A and there's some benefits to B. Yeah. You as a math student can make that choice. You as a math student can make that choice. If you like A, go for A. If you like B, go for B. There's some benefits to A. There's some benefits to B. There's some tricky parts to A. There's some tricky parts to B. So I think it evens out, right? For my second and third period, there will be no option. I'm going to teach them one way and they're all going to do it the same way. You guys have the option of A or B. Second and third period, we're all doing it the same way. Yes.
You put 214 times 6 equals 84.
The 2 was a carry.
Oh.
Yeah. I know I said 216. Even when I said, I was like, what am I saying? It's 14 times 6, and then the 2 was a carry. My bad. All right. Let's do some 7th grade. It might be easier. You never know. This first one will be easier, guys. Don't fright. 2 and 1/4 plus negative 1 and 2/10. What makes this negative? That little negative. I mean, what makes the 7th grade that negative? That's all the difference between 7th grade and non-7th grade is the negative. That's it. All the other work will be the same. So you will still need to know how to find common denominators and do all of this stuff. The difference here is, okay, at the end of the day, are you going to be adding or subtracting these two? Anybody? You're going to be adding or subtracting. This is the 7th grade question. Are you going to be adding or subtracting?
Adding.
Okay. So this is a positive number. 2 and 1/4 is a positive. And then what about my second fraction? My second mixed number is a negative. So I have a positive plus a negative, a positive plus a negative. Am I going to be adding or subtracting? When you have an addition sign, but your first fraction is a positive and your second fraction is a negative, you're going to be, yes, Saeed. That's why math is so not complicated. You're going to be subtracting by adding. Yes. That's why kids have so much fun with math, because math just doesn't make sense. Yes, it is an addition sign, right? But because this one's a positive and this one's a negative, you're going to end up subtracting. And this is why kids love math, because math makes so much sense. It's like, of course, you have a positive and you have a negative, and it's an addition sign. But at the end of the day, you're going to be subtracting. It's just deformed. Okay. Yeah, we love math because math is so straightforward. All right. So I'm going to turn this into improper. 2, 4, 8, 9, 9 over 4. And then this one's a 10, 11, 12, negative 12 over 10. So all I did was I turned them into improper fractions. Multiply and add, multiply and add. Yell at your elementary school teacher if they didn't teach you how to turn them into improper fractions. So 9/4 plus negative 12/10. Okay, that's what I have right here. 9/4 plus negative 12/10. My common denominator is going to be 20. Don't go to 40, go to 20. All right, 4 times what is 20? Times 5 times 5 is 45. Times 2 times 2 is negative 24. So right now what I have is I have 45 plus negative 24. 45 plus negative 24. Now this is the problem I gave you back in September when we first started learning them. And I said, okay, are the signs the same or different? They're different. So if they're different, you're going to subtract. Okay, what do you get when you subtract? I get 21. And then I said, okay, are there more positives or are there more negatives? And you guys would all say, oh, Miss Melly, there's more positives. Awesome. So your answer stays positive. Yeah, cool. Your denominator stays the same, 20. Now, what does this turn into as a mixed number? What does this turn into as a mixed number? 1 and 1 over 20th. Okay. Yeah, good. All right. What if I have negative 3 and 3/4 minus 1 and 1/2? Okay. I wrote it horizontal so we can talk about it. Now, the first one's a negative, then you have a subtraction sign, and then you have a positive fraction. What do you have to do first? This is a 7th grade math problem. What do you have to do first?
Convert the 1 and 1/2 into a negative.
But why?
To make it easier, I guess, somehow.
No.
When you add them
Change the
together.
subtraction sign.
What is it, Jaime?
To change the subtraction sign.
Yeah. So your first thought is that subtraction sign just has to go.
Because you hate it.
Because I hate it. So because I hate it, you hate it. I hate, you hate. It's nature. Yes. So yes, the whole Miss Lomelli hate subtraction thing exactly comes into play here. You will remember this for the rest of your life. You'll remember 2020 as the year you learned your math teacher hates subtraction, not because of the coronavirus. Okay. So subtraction turns into addition. And because I did this, Saeed, we turn this one into a negative 1 and 1/2. We don't just change it to make it easier. We don't. We change it because we change this. It does become easier, but that's not our goal sometimes. So every time you see subtraction and you have negatives involved, you're going to have to change it, okay? Now, side note, if the problem is 10 minus 5, I don't need you to change 10 minus 5, okay? But if it's negative 10 minus 5, you have to change it. Yeah. All right, so here it is. So now we have a negative 3 and 3/4. That stays exactly the same. Subtraction turns into addition, and then we have to do the opposite. Remember, this is the opposite. This is literally what we learned in September. Except in September, we didn't have the fractions, but it's still the same thing. All right, cool. What are we going to do? I'm going to turn them into improper fractions. So 12, so this would be negative 15 over 4 plus 2, 3, negative 3 over 2. So I literally wrote this fraction as a mixed number right here. As an improper fraction right here by multiplying and adding. Here, multiplying and adding, I turned them into improper fractions and I wrote it right here. So all I did is I went from horizontal to vertical. The reason I wrote this horizontal is hopefully you saw like how, subtraction turns into addition, and then I got to do the opposite. And that's sometimes easier seen horizontal than vertically. So that's why I wrote it horizontal for you. Obviously, some of you are going to be doing this part in your head later on, and that's perfectly fine. All right, so what's our common denominator? It's going to be 4, right? So this one doesn't change at all. This one is times 2 is times 2, so that's negative 6. So that gives me negative 21, right? Negative 15 plus negative 6 is negative 21 over 4. And that turns into what mixed number? Again, your mixed number is when you divide the top and then the bottom is outside. And that gives you a 5. And actually, I want remainders. This is the only time I want remainders. So this number right here is your big whole number. Your remainder is your numerator, and your denominator stays exactly the same. And because this was a negative, we just carry it with you. So our final answer is negative 5 1/4. Do we need another example, or are we okay?
Can you do another example?
Okay. Do you guys want an addition sign or a subtraction sign to start with? Ladies and gentlemen, like, ask your parents if they liked fractions, doing fractions when they were kids. Fractions, for some reason, like, people love them, or they're okay with them, or they like absolutely hate fractions. Like, they hate fractions. Like, it's like, I don't mind them, but yeah, I'm the math teacher. So, but still, I know there's some people that I just despise fractions. I hope you guys don't. I hope you guys find. Okay, let's do 3 1/3 minus a negative 1 2/9. Yeah, fractions hurt me. I want to go back to decimals. Oh, we will go back to decimals later, and then some of you are going to hate decimals. I used to like fractions. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I just ruin your life with fractions? I mean, fractions are the same thing as 5th grade. The only difference is that you throw in a negative, and that's it. Just throw in a negative. All right. So here we have a subtraction sign and we have negatives, which Miss Lamelli just despises. So we're going to change this. Remember to add the opposite. Keep, change, change. So the first one stays exactly the same. I don't do anything to it. Subtraction turns into addition, which makes Miss Lamelli happy because this makes Miss Lamelli sad. Then we have to do the opposite of this second fraction. The opposite of this second fraction would be a positive 1 2/9, right? Now I'm happy all the way around. So again, keep the first, whatever the first number is, fraction, decimal, variable, stays exactly the same. Subtraction turns into addition because that's what makes me happy. Then we do the opposite. Again, this comes from back in September. You see, rules for subtraction. Don't. Back in September. All right. Now that we have this, now I'm going to turn them into improper fractions. So 9, 10 over 3. That's just this one written as a improper fraction. You did that in elementary school when you multiply and add, going like this. And then this is 9, 10, 11 over 9. So this, I multiply. 9 times 1 is 9 plus 2 is 11. That's all I did. Okay. Now you see that there's no negatives. Yay, no negatives. We're good. This one's an easy one. Then I'm going to turn this one into a common denominator of 9 because my denominators have to match. Then I realized, like, okay, 3 times 3 is 9. So I got to multiply the top by 3. That gives me 30. So now I have brand new fractions. Yay, brand new fractions. Woohoo! I get 41 over 9. That's called an improper fraction. We turn it into mixed numbers. 9 goes into 41 4 times. That gives me 36. Remainder 5. So this top number is your big whole number. This remainder is your numerator, and your denominator stays exactly the same.